Is the EPSON ET 4850 a good printer for crafting? In this video you'll see me unboxing, setting up and giving an honest review of how it went. On the whole, I'm quite a frugal person. I like to use my devices like my phone and my computer and my printer as long as possible. But I feel like the printer that I had for almost 4 years now isn't performing as well anymore as it used to. Over the years I ran the cleaning program regularly to stop the ink tubes etc. from clogging. But even after changing most ink cartridges again, it was really clear the colors weren't what they used to be anymore. And I know when I'm starting to get really frustrated with the device, it is time to get a new one. I was quite happy with my Canon printer, but after using it day in, day out, year after year, it's just time to retire for craft prints. I've been researching new printers for these past few weeks and I wanted to stick with Canon. I have had multiple Canon printers in the past. But after reading a ton of reviews and specs, I decided to try out an EPSON ET printer. I chose one that had good reviews and is still quite affordable-ish, since they can have a hefty price tag. I bought this printer in Belgium and I paid 380 euros for it. That's about 412 US dollars. I realize this price is not for everyone, but Victoria Designs is a business and I will be using this printer heavily day in, day out. So for me, it's worth the price. On the other hand, the ink will be a lot cheaper since for this EPSON ET I need to use bottles to refill instead of these very expensive ink cartridges. I decided a long time ago that I only want to buy inkjet printers for health reasons. Laser printers are quite unhealthy because they release a bunch of chemical particles that you don't want to get into your system. So, unless I would have a well-ventilated separate room for a laser printer, which is also highly unpractical, I would never buy a laser printer. If I really need a laser printed sheet for a type of craft, which is almost never, I can just go to my local copy/print shop. This video is an honest review. I am not sponsored. I paid for this printer myself and I was prepared to be really critical. Let me show you how the unboxing and the installation went. Opening the box, I saw big bottles of ink being included, which made me very happy. That's not always the case. Since I really want to keep my old printer for non-craft use until I run out of ink, I'm going to give this EPSON printer a temporary place in my studio. When I took it out of the box, it felt lighter than expected and also smaller than expected, which are both pluses for me. It's next to a radiator, which is not really a good idea, but I don't really use that one anyway, so it's not a problem. After quickly reading the safety warnings telling me not to drink the ink and not to submerge the printer into water, I checked out the most important document, the Start Here guide. I started taking off all the blue tape and protection plastic. When trying to find where I needed to attach my power cord, I found some more blue tape to remove. I turned on the printer and the display asked me to select my language, date, time, etc., which was easy to do. Afterwards it turned out I needed to do this later in the process, but it didn't make any difference. I got the choice to set up this printer with or without my smart device, and I chose not to do that since 1. I am using my phone to film this video, and 2. I never ever felt the need to print for my phone. Everything that I print, I do for my computer. And then it was time to fill the ink tanks. I admit I was a bit apprehensive about filling these tanks, but it turned out a very easy and clean process. Just open the lid of one color, unscrew the cap of the ink bottle with the same color, and put it upside down in the designated slot. And then you just need to wait until the tank is full. That'll take about 75 seconds per tank. And no worries, it will stop on its own when the tank is full. Any leftovers can be stored and used later. Repeat with the other colors. The guide says to be very careful while handling the ink bottle so not to spray ink splatters. Great day to wear a white sweater, I thought, but never in the process I even saw one drop of spilled ink. The whole tank filling process was really clean. That wasn't always the case when I had to change my Canon inked cartridges. After filling the last tank, I made sure all lids were closed firmly. Then I saw my sort of mistake that I turned on the printer too soon, according to the guide, so I turned it off and on again. It made me go through the whole language, country, date, time, setting sequence again, but all my settings were still in place, so I just needed to confirm. Then, according to the guide, I needed to push the question mark button for 5 seconds, and then the display showed that it was time that the ink I just added needed to be put in place for the actual printing. This process would take about 10 minutes and you could follow along on the display. After this, it was time to make sure the printer would print as perfect as possible. For this, I needed to put paper in the paper tray and follow the instructions. Then I opened the top tray where the paper comes out and agreed for the first adjustment sheet to be printed. These adjustment sheets print several shapes and lines and boxes, etc. on several sheets, and each time you need to select the number that's with the shape that is most straight or filled with color, etc. So the best performance. It's a bit of a process in the beginning, but it's worth it that everything will be very well aligned for all your future prints. Next, I needed to hook up the printer to my Wi-Fi. There's no information about that in the Start Here guide, but after pushing the Wi-Fi button, it was actually very easy. I clicked the Wizard Wi-Fi button assuming that it would be the most automated process. I chose my home network and entered the Wi-Fi password. After that, I checked the printer setup settings on my computer and the EPSON was added. It was as easy as that. And now it was time for the ultimate test. I loaded the paper tray with 160 grams paper, which I mostly use for crafting. I wasn't happy anymore with the colors of my old printer, so I printed the paper that I just also printed with my old printer to compare. And I very much forgot to open the top tray, which will hold the printed sheets. Still getting used to that. My first realization, this printer prints fast. I didn't speed up the video here, this is a whole paper print in real time. And here I realized I forgot to open the tray, so I did it anyway. And check out, the top paper is the new print and the bottom paper was the old print that looked a lot more dull. Next test was to see if I could easily print borderless, and that turned out great as well. I was ready to be very critical if needed, but to be honest, so far I really like this printer. Overall, I felt the installation went really smoothly, everything was very clear and the Wi-Fi setup was super easy. Filming stuff and reading the guide, etc. included, I set up this printer in about an hour. It can clearly handle 160 grams paper very well, that's the paper weight I use most for crafting. I haven't tried heavier paper yet since I don't have it, but on the EPSON website I see this printer can handle paper up to 300 grams paper, which is amazing for crafting. I also love that it prints borderless, which means less cutting for me if I print full sheets. And it prints fast compared to my previous printer, which also makes me super happy. Bottom line, I'm really excited to start working with this printer and I think it's going to improve my productivity as well. So, is the EPSON EcoTank 4850 a good printer for crafting? Well, today on day 1, I'd like to think so. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was really helpful. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And now, dear crafters, I wish you a beautiful day. Bye bye.